free, home the brave. This has been America's claim to fame since its colonization and individualism from Britain. Although America wasn't thought of as a supreme military or political power originally, it was considered as such and is one of the most influential countries in the world after the many wars it's participated in, including the American Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, and World War I and World War II. America has also solidified its power in suppressing social uprisings such as the American Cherokee War, Shays' Rebellion, the Whiskey Rebellion also. Now, America, even though we won't claim it, has taken after its predecessors, the British, and has worked to advance aristocratic, opulent families that were mainly Caucasian into more political and dominating roles in society. Now, rightfully so, these opulent Caucasians made laws to benefit themselves, but this led African Americans and minorities to be put on the back burner overall. Thus, they were largely disenfranchised and mistreated. This gave justification overall to slavery, which came to a head during the Civil War. And so the book that I'll be talking about a lot is called Puddn'head Wilson. It was written in 1893, which is 28 long years after the Emancipation Proclamation. But it takes place before the abolishment of slavery in southern Missouri, which is a very prominent place in slavery, which is shown by its very direct views of slavery and African Americans being inferior to Caucasians. The first undertone that I'll be talking about is slavery. Slavery is defined as property law given to one citizen and the power to buy, own, and sell another citizen. And so slavery, although not the brightest time in America's history, was thought of as very useful in a Caucasian slaveholder's economy and overall amount of wealth. In fact, in Forbes magazine it says that cotton went from being at a value of $29.7 million to skyrocketing to $191.8 million. Rightfully so, everyone in America decided that now they want to grow cotton and other crops, and so there became a higher demand for African Americans that were physically able and skillful enough to farm cotton and other goods. This is directly shown in Puddn'head Wilson whenever Tom sells his mother, Roxy, for a trifle over $600 to a cotton planter in Arkansas. So basically, why is this important? Although slavery has passed, it's very important as it reminds us of what has happened. And it's shown us how far we've come, but how far we still have to go until we eliminate prejudice in America for all races and religions. The second topic I'll be talking about is nepotism. Nepotism is defined as the opportunities given to family members or close acquaintances, not based on merit or ability, but based on just the fact that you have a relationship with them somehow. Now, this is directly shown in Puddn'head Wilson, as whenever Percy dies, he leaves his inheritance to Tom. Tom picks up this nasty gambling habit and accumulates all this gambling debt, which is immediately forgiven without any repercussions because they have so much money. If Tom would have been African American, even 1/32 African American, which he is, but everybody else doesn't know, which is irony, and basically he would have not been given any of these rights. He would have been treated as an African American. He wouldn't even have the money to pay off his gambling debts anymore. Basically, this, in contrast, is shown in his mother, Roxy. Roxy is 1/16 African American, and as she said, the 1/16 of her that is black outvotes the other 16ths that are Caucasian. Thus, she's denied all the rights as a Caucasian, and as she has Caucasian mainly prominent in her genome, and it's shown in her genotype and her phenotype, but she is still treated as an African American and denied all the rights she previously would have been given. The third topic we'll be talking about is generational wealth and how that runs in tandem with nepotism. As Roxy said, "Who knew clothes could do the like of that?" Clothes is a very fancy metaphor for the surface level thinking of everybody, not only in Dawson's Landing, but also in and around the world. Generational wealth was allowed by Caucasians because they earned all this money and they just passed it down their generations and it kept on going. Social constructs, on the other hand, were not favorable for African Americans. In fact, it worked to make African Americans more impoverished by the year. This was shown in systems such as sharecropping, in which African Americans after slavery needed a job, and so they went back to their masters, and they got to farm on their land and they got to keep some of the crops and make a little bit of money, but that kept getting them in more and more debt. But they didn't know that, but they kept doing it. And so this continued a cycle of debt and payment throughout different generations. Michigan law states that the two reasons for generational wealth is slavery and the hindering of asset accumulation. Slavery is on a very different time period than asset accumulation because slavery is historical. It's set in deep biases throughout our country. Asset accumulation, on the other hand, is set on a more contemporary, modern point of view, which doesn't allow African Americans to get money based on more modern technological point of view. So that was basically what happened. And so then the last one that we're going to talk about is the superficial standards of America. America at that time was based off of how somebody looked. Whenever Roxy switched Tom and Chambers, she suddenly turned her slave child into a Caucasian that had all this opportunity and fortune at his disposal. On the other hand, Chambers wasn't given nearly any rights whenever he was switched from Tom's to Chambers, and he was forced to wait at Tom's every hand and foot. So basically, destiny was overridden by the clothing they were given. So it shows how close-minded the people in Dawson's Landing were compared to the people in America all around. In conclusion, as Puddn'head Wilson famously says, a cauliflower is just cabbage with education, college education, in fact. This shows how we all start from the same seed, but the soil and the water that upbrings us is what really changes it. So Caucasians and African Americans are both born the same way, but whenever their upbringing and education that African Americans are denied and Caucasians are given, gives them opportunities, Caucasians more opportunities, and it continues to subjugate African Americans in comparison. So overall as a country, even though we've gone through all these things, we have the power to overcome these other situations that has trapped us for so long. In fact, as Puddn'head Wilson said in his calendar, habit can be coaxed down one step at a time, which is what we've been doing for years now, as we've gone down from prejudice to being equally treated. America is no longer thought in the image of just a white or Caucasian person. Now it's thought of it was thought of like a Caucasian male. Now it's thought of as women and men of all different races and religions. We're no longer put in the box that history has put us in. We are diverse and we represent all different histories and backgrounds. In the 241 years of independence that we've had, we've been able to advance so much more, and thus we can influence so many more countries to advance with us. America now has more diverse points of view, and if you think about it, in this short amount of time, we've achieved so much. And in the future, we have so much more to achieve. We are innovation, we are diversity, we are opportunity, we are skill, we are depth. We're no longer superficial. We are intelligence, we're ability. I am not America, you're not America, not even they. They're not America. We, only we are America. Thank you.